at that sun, look at that sky, look at my sweater vest, I look so fly. Look at that mailbox, look at that tree, it's about as beautiful as it can be. Whoa, today is gonna be exceptional.
Hello everyone, Mask Entertainment's here.
And Mama Entertainments. Welcome to our podcast.
Today we're talking about one of Disney XD's recent hits, Milo Murphy's Law.
Made by the same creators of Phineas and Ferb, Dan Povenmire and Jeff Swampy Marsh. This show centers around the adventures of Milo, who is the descendant of the man who created Murphy's Law, which states everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
I have to admit, that's actually a pretty creative idea for a show, because you know in cartoons there's always someone that has just crap thrown at them like every episode, or they get hurt somehow. But to have the main character really have that part of him every episode 24/7 is different.
Yeah, but too bad it's not exactly true. Because they have he and his family are so used to it. They have this great outlook, and they just roll with the punches, and it is more positive than it is the way that it's meant to be tragic.
Right.
It's not tragic. It's more fun and laughable.
Right. I'm assuming that as years went on, Murphy members just kind of dealt with it, and eventually they just got so used to it where they found a way to use it to their advantage. Because you can see Milo, it doesn't bother him. He's excited about that because nothing's ever boring.
Right.
And you even saw in the first episode when he introduced a new kid at school, and he was accidentally stuck with him. He didn't know why everyone was staying away from him. You were thinking, like, what's wrong with this kid?
Right.
And you see from the time it starts to the time it's over, all this bizarre stuff happens, and it doesn't even matter if it makes sense or not. It just happens to him because it can.
Right. Now, what I thought was hilarious after we watched it the first time, I remember asking you, I said, well, then how does he have friends?
Right.
He has two friends.
Right. Apparently, he had no friends except for this, the girl, and then this other boy that came on the same episode, and at the end, he started hanging out with him. But yeah, he didn't have any friends besides her. Even she had to keep her distance sometimes.
Right. So, tell them a little more backstory.
Right. So like we said, it's the same people who made Phineas and Ferb. So they decided to do, it's almost sort of a spin-off. It takes place in the same universe as Phineas and Ferb. So it's kind of like what happens like when they went back to school, and now you're seeing someone else's story, because you can tell it's in the fall and they're going to school every day. One of the things that people couldn't figure out is how old were the characters.
Right.
According to them, they were supposed to be like 12 or 13 because of the school they go to. But people said, how is that possible? They're voiced by adults. They look like teens. They act like kids, but they're supposed to be 12. It's like, I can't figure it out because their designs are so odd. You can't tell what age they're supposed to be until someone says something.
And Milo Murphy's is voiced by someone in their 60s. So, yeah, I can kind of see why that's a little confusing. And you're not sure, because I know one episode where we saw his sister, and it's like his sister looked younger than they do, but she said she's an older sister in college. So, yeah, it is kind of confusing.
Oh, and Milo's voiced by Weird Al Yankovic. At first, I thought he was just singing a theme song. For a while, I didn't know he's doing the voice till I started listening, like, oh, he's the character. Okay. And we've seen, I think, pretty much the first season. I think we finished the first season, and there's quite a few creative ideas and episodes. Some things were kind of like, what the heck? We kind of maybe didn't understand the joke. Like, they had like a meat place it was a vegan meat shop, and I was like, but it was still meat.
Right.
And like, I don't get the joke. Is it irony or something?
This vegan didn't get the joke, because I'm like, that's like an oxymoron.
And computer, there was a place, a computer lab called Computers, tool shop called Hardware Store. They didn't have any names for any of the stores. They were just generic. I'm like, how much time did you spend on writing the disasters? You forgot to write in like extra stuff.
My favorite is the dog's name, D.O.G. And at first, I thought he was saying D.O.G. And then when I finally saw the name, I'm like, D.O.G. Oh, I get it. And I thought that was hilarious.
That was really clever. And they also had this thing, a running gag in here, two of them. One is they have a thing that's a parody of Doctor Who, and they call it I think it's called Dr. Zone. And it's a time traveler guy who's this mismatch of past, present, future, and he does time travel. I hope it's Dr. Zone, because there's so many Doctor Who parodies out there. And that's their favorite show, and they kind of make fun of people who are into the theories and the conspiracies of what's going on in the show and what they think is going to happen. And they also have these two characters that are pretty much the creators. They put themselves in the show,
Right.
just like a Phineas and Ferb, is Cavendish and Dakota, and apparently they're agents of a time travel bureau, and their only job is to make sure pistachios exist in the future. But every time they attempt to finish their mission, Milo inadvertently messes it up, and then they fail, and they keep them to do it again and again and again and again.
But they're in this series way more than they were in Phineas and Ferb.
Right.
They've even had a couple of episodes dedicated to their characters
Right.
entirely. So.
And that would be a weird thing for us, is that they're in the show so much, we almost forget it's Milo Murphy's Law, because
times, yes,
they're half the show. I understand they're part of the show, and something important is coming, but there's just so much on them. It's almost like they should have gotten their own show at this point.
You know, that's what I was thinking when we saw the episode. I don't remember the name. You're great at that. Where they kept going back, trying to prevent this event from happening, and they repeatedly kept going back in time.
Yeah,
back in
it
time,
was
and
a
back
Christmas. It's called a Christmas Peril.
Right.
And in one story, Milo had all his family members come to visit in town, but the more Murphys that are in one place, the more Murphy's Law is in effect. So more chaotic stuff was going wrong because a lot of them were in one place. And the other half was the two agents. They have become, something happened and they stopped being friends.
Right.
And the future wasn't great. So they were going back in time to stop whatever silly thing happened so it wouldn't happen. But for some reason, no matter what they did, the same thing happened over and over again. And no matter what, they still fought.
And
they
it wasn't even like Groundhog Day, because like you said, it got to the point there were just so many go back, so many reasons over and over and over.
And so much chaos, and no matter what happened, they never saw. Everything still played out to where he took the last egg roll and they stopped being friends. They didn't know anything that was going on behind them. It's like, what was the point of this whole thing? The last episode we saw was a hour-long special called Missing Milo. And the two characters finally met, because they hadn't met before, because they thought Milo was a secret agent trying to destroy their missions. And they didn't know better till later. Well, they finally planted a pistachio tree, but something went wrong with it, and in the future, pistachios took over the world. And the leader of the pistachio aliens there is voiced by Reese Darby, a.k.a. Karan, the gorgeous man! That was actually really, really funny.
It was.
And they also have this thing in there. I guess it'll be leading to something else. Two things. There will be a crossover with Phineas and Ferb coming this summer, since it takes place in the same universe.
And Sylviane 14 will be so excited. That's
yes,
because she's talking about.
Yeah, because she's really excited for it. It has the promos and stuff, so we're really excited for that. Seeing how the characters from both of these shows will interact and how they react to Murphy's Law. Since everything goes well for them, everything doesn't go well for him. How is that going to play out?
Right.
And they had this thing, what was the friend's name? Zach is the guy. I think Melissa is the girl.
Lumberzaks.
Yeah, Lumberzaks. Oh, yeah, it turns out the guy was part of a boy band because everyone's got love sentence fever in the studio.
There are no love sentences.
Yeah, the Lumberzaks probably was a boy band, and Chop It Way in My Heart, but it was nowhere near as catchy as Just Friends.
And Love Sentence, right.
It
was a good attempt.
Right.
It was a good second attempt.
Yeah, the girl's name, I think, was Melissa. If I'm wrong, I apologize. To me, she almost reminded me of Jackie Lynn Thomas. Some people say she looked like Candace, but I always thought Jackie Lynn Thomas when I looked at her. They were trying to figure out what happened to Milo because he was missing for almost a whole day. And she had all this stuff of him, and she said at first she was trying to figure out how to get rid of Murphy's Law so he wouldn't have to deal with that anymore. And then when she found out that he didn't mind it, she stopped trying to find a cure for it. Like, it's not a disease. It's just a weird coincidence all the time. And then she said that she started collecting stuff, and it started being more memories and stuff. Like, it's starting to lead to something with her. And it's like, you knew what it was. Right when you saw it, she had this Dipper style room, like a conspiracy room. I was like, this is like too much stuff, even for you. You're too new.
That is a tried and true Disney trope now. I mean, they use it in so many other shows now. So.
And one thing I think... Oh, wait, I'm sorry. You have not had a chance to speak about anything.
No, I at least wanted to mention the episode that I like the best before we end. And I don't remember the name of the episode, but it's the one where we're taking a trip. And that's how I learned that DOG was DOG.
Oh yeah, the family vacation.
Yes,
yeah.
I really like that episode.
Oh, that was
my
hilarious.
Favorite episode out of all the ones we've seen so far in season 1.
I almost remember in National Lampoon's Vacation, where just one thing happened to another. His family wasn't used to him, and they were like, "How are you prepared for all this?" Because he's got a little backpack that has everything he needs. Like if something goes wrong, he's got this. Something wrong, he's got that. And so he always needs the backpack because there's always something happening.
Right.
One thing I thought they could do, I doubt they would do it, because Phineas and Ferb never really had emotional episodes. It was mostly just strictly comedy. They had like their touching moments, heartwarming, but they never went emotional like a lot of these shows now. Since the Murphy line has lasted this long somehow, I would like to see an episode to show how did all these people in the Murphy family
managed to survive.
Yeah, how they managed to survive because they caused a lot of disasters, and how they end up finding somebody that wanted to stay with them for the rest of their lives and continue the family line to present day, because you would think that line wouldn't last long, but no, it keeps going. So they could really have an episode to show how did they find somebody that loved them so much they didn't care about Murphy's Law. They would deal with it just to be with them, and maybe that'll happen with Milo, because that could actually be a really good episode.
And I remember telling you, like I said, how does he have any friends? Like you said, how do they last this long? How do they have a home? How do they drive their cars? How do they walk down the street? How do they do anything that normal people do, since the Murphy's Law is strong in this family?
Right. That would be a great episode to see, because
it's deep in his family.
Right. Because obviously, the girl likes him, so it would be great to see an episode like that. Even if it's not completely emotional, that would just be actually a really nice one, considering that this show is really high on comedy.
Right. And it has a pretty loyal following. There's a good fan base for this show. And so that's going to be something, as you said, the crossover that's really going to be exciting for them, especially for those that love both Milo Murphy's Law and Star vs. the Forces of Evil. I mean, Phineas and Ferb.
Yeah, like, wrong show, gosh.
Edit. So, yeah, I want to see that too. And you said that would be a great episode. And there's just a lot of things that they could do with this show that play on that law. That would be just great episodes. So we just have to see what they do in season 2. Maybe they've even thought of these things that we're thinking of.
Right.
And they'll address some of those questions we have and answer them.
Right.
But I would like to see a little less of the creators.
Cavendish and Dakota,
right.
yeah.
I would like to see a little less of them in season 2 in some of the episodes, and focus more on the dynamic, as you said, of their family in relation to everyone else.
Right.
And, even if, making a small appearance, each episode will be okay, but not so much that it focuses where, as you said, you forget that this episode is about them, Milo and his family and his friends, because so much is invested into the Cavendish and
Dakota. Yeah.
So that's the only thing that I would say personally.
And I agree, because we've seen...
And if they do want to focus on them, then have their own episode.
Right.
Or maybe just in the beginning you see Milo and his friends for like a minute or two, and then the entire episode is dedicated to them till the end, maybe the last minute or two, and then it's their episode. But that episode really furthers the story itself, not so much just on those two characters. Right.
And I know they want to do the formula like Phineas and Ferb, where two things happening at the same time and they both come together at the end. That's not happening right now. It just seems like they want to have episodes about themselves for a while, then episodes about Milo, and they're kind of shifting between how much do they want to be in this show and how much do they want to have about the characters. So, like you said, hopefully that will straighten out later on. But that doesn't affect the viewing of it. It's still a really good show, really creative, really funny, especially when all the stuff happens and Milo's like, oh!
And the theme song with Weird Al singing
it's my world and we're all living in it.
I do like the intro. Sylvian14, yes, you are correct. Rascal, your buddy, forgot about it until you mentioned it.
Yeah, because, the scheduling right now is crazy. The last episode we saw was in December when there were all these holiday episodes of shows. That was the last time we saw the show. Well, for that, we probably would have forgotten about the show. They keep having new shows on at the same time, so that's kind of why we were silent about it for a while.
Well, we're looking forward to the return as well as the other new shows that are coming out. And I know that so many are looking forward to the crossover. So this is just a brief shout out to another Disney show that has a fan base that loves the creation, Milo Murphy's Law.
Yep. I'm Rascal Entertainment.
And I'm Mama Entertainment.
Have a toontastic day.
Peace.